When a new year rolls around, our first thought is almost always, what am I going to add to my life? New goals, new habits, the whole deal. But what if the biggest, most powerful move you can make isn't about what you add, but what you finally decide to subtract? Let's get into this with a story. So picture this. There's a traveler, and he's on this epic journey. But he comes to a complete standstill. In front of him is this massive, rushing river. There's no bridge, no way around it. He's stuck. He has to get across. So, what does he do? He gets to work. He spends days, literally days, building a small but really sturdy boat. It's the perfect tool for the job. He hops in, navigates the dangerous currents, and makes it safely to the other side. This boat, it was absolutely essential. It saved him.
But then, as he stands on the far shore, this thought creeps into his mind. Wow, that river was tough. What if there's another one up ahead? He thinks about all the work it took to build that boat. So, instead of just leaving it behind, he decides to drag it with him, just in case.
And you can just imagine it, right? The ground is rough and hilly, and this boat is just heavy. It's slowing him down, draining all his energy. The very tool that was his salvation in one very specific moment has now become a massive anchor, holding him back from the rest of his journey. And that right there is the question for all of us, isn't it? What's your boat? What's that thing, that habit, that old way of thinking, maybe even a job, that once served you, that once got you across a river, but now you're just dragging it through the mud?
Okay, so to understand why letting go is so incredibly hard, we need to pop the hood and look at the engineering of our own minds. Because this isn't some kind of personal failure, it's a very human, very predictable pattern. At the very core of this whole boat-dragging problem is a funny little glitch in our thinking called the sunk cost fallacy. It's this weird tendency our brains have to keep investing in something, whether it's time or money or effort, not because it's a good idea for the future, but simply because we've already invested so much in the past. Our focus gets totally stuck looking backward instead of forward.
And you can really see the difference here. A rational choice focuses on the future, right? It asks, okay, from where I'm standing right now, what's the smartest move? But sunk cost thinking, oh, it's obsessed with the past. It keeps asking, but look at everything I've already put into this. It's a classic definition of throwing good money after bad. One leads to progress, the other, well, it keeps you dragging that boat.
So why on earth do we do this? Well, there are a few big reasons. First, something called loss aversion. Basically, the pain of losing something feels way more intense than the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. Then there's our desire for consistency. Dropping the boat means we have to admit our old plan isn't working anymore, and that's just hard for our ego. Of course, we get emotionally attached to our boats. And finally, there's social pressure. We worry about what other people will think if we just quit.
So many of these boats we drag are really just habits running on autopilot. They operate on this simple three-step loop. You have a cue, like feeling stressed or bored. That triggers a routine, like mindlessly scrolling on your phone. And that delivers a reward, a tiny hit of distraction or relief. That reward reinforces the whole loop, making it even stronger the next time. Okay, so it might sound like we're hardwired to hold on. And in some ways, we are. But here's the good news. Certain moments in time can give us this incredible psychological tailwind that makes it so much easier to finally let go. It's a phenomenon called the fresh start effect. Researchers found that these points in time, like the first day of a new year or new month, or even just a Monday, act like a mental reset button. They help us create a clean break between our past self, the one dragging the boat, and our future self, who's ready and motivated for a change. And January 1st is like the Super Bowl of fresh starts, right? It's not just personal, it's this huge shared cultural event. Everybody's talking about new beginnings, which creates this powerful, contagious energy that makes our own goals feel way more achievable.
But listen, this is the most important part. You do not have to wait for January 1st. You can create a fresh start whenever you want. Next Monday can be your personal new year. Tomorrow morning can be the moment you decide, okay, that's it, I'm dropping the boat.
So, knowing the psychology behind why we hold on is great, but how do we actually do it? How do we untie that rope and start walking freely? Let's get into a practical 4-step toolkit.
First, you got to be brutally honest and identify your boat. What is it really? Second, redesign your environment. Our willpower isn't endless, so set yourself up for success. Make the old, bad habit harder to do and the new, good one easier. Third, you have to replace the routine. You can't just create a vacuum, you need a new, better behavior that gives you a similar kind of reward. And finally, and this one is absolutely crucial, practice self-compassion. You are going to have setbacks. That's part of the process, not a sign of failure.
Let's look at a super simple example of redesigning your environment. Say your boat is late-night phone scrolling. Before, the trigger, your phone, is charging right next to your bed. It's just too easy. The after state, you move the charger to another room. Just like that, you've created friction. You've made the old habit harder and created an opening for a new one, like picking up a book instead. It's so simple, but it really works.
And let's just zoom in on that self-compassion piece, because it's so important. It's not just about being nice to yourself. It's built on 3 ideas. First, self-kindness, which is about treating yourself with the same gentleness you'd offer a friend. Second, common humanity. This means realizing that struggling and being imperfect is a shared human experience. It's not a you problem, it's an us problem. And third, mindfulness. Being able to notice your feelings of frustration without getting completely swept away by them.
All right, as we bring this all together, let's go back to our traveler on the riverbank one last time. Because the choice to finally drop the boat, it's more than just a logical decision. It's a profound act of trust.
That fear that keeps us holding on is so real, and it's completely natural. It's that little voice whispering, hey, what if you need this later? What if the next problem is even bigger and you can't handle it? It's a voice that's just trying to keep you safe. But here's the thing that fear always forgets to mention. The evidence. You already built a boat. Once, when you had to, you faced a challenge that seemed impossible and you figured it out. You adapted. Think about it. Your track record for surviving 100% of your worst days is so far perfect. So, here's what to take with you. First, start asking a different question. What do I need to subtract from my life, not just add? Second, see sunk costs for what they truly are. They're history, they're gone. They are not an invoice for your future. Third, use those fresh starts, any Monday, any morning, to give yourself a boost. And maybe most important of all, shift your focus. Stop staring at the old boat you're dragging and start trusting in your own proven ability as a boat builder.
Because at the end of the day, growth isn't about collecting a heavy bag of every tool you've ever used. It's about having the wisdom to let go and the quiet confidence to know that when you get to the next river, you'll have everything you need to build exactly what you need, right when you need it.